Experts from the Middle East are meeting here in Abu Dhabi, organised by the N7 initiative, and they are looking to forge or continue to forge cooperation. Well, Dan Shapiro is director of the N7 initiative. He's a distinguished fellow at the Atlantic Council's Middle East programme. He's also, of course, and you will recognise him as such, former US ambassador to Israel from 2011 to 2017. And he's here with me now. What do you make of what is going on at present and the impact that the domestic issues are having on relations with not just this part of the world, but with the US as well?
I think lots of leaders of neighbors of Israel and leaders of other friends and partners and allies of Israel in the United States and Europe are looking at a very turbulent, even chaotic political situation inside Israel, as well as some rising tensions between Israelis and Palestinians, and needing to take a pause to at least see if they can understand where that's going to go, what decisions Israelis are going to make. Obviously, those decisions could have repercussions on other relationships. I think in the case of the United States, there is great commitment to the relationship with Israel. Obviously, it's based on the common values of two democracies. So hopefully that is not in any way sort of put in jeopardy by decisions that are made.
But it's quite clear that we're hearing from US officials that that is in jeopardy at present, while they continue to say our security guarantees are ironclad. You know, it was Lloyd Austin most recently, but Secretary Blinken before that, talking about, or certainly talking around the subject of the threat to democracy.
Well, talking around the idea that when taking on major foundational changes in the system of government in a democratic system, it's important to have dialogue, it's important to have transparency, and it's important to have as broad a consensus as possible, and probably not to go too fast because it takes time to build that consensus. Those have all, I think, been important points that those officials have made.
Benjamin Netanyahu, extremely proud of the Abraham Accords, the deals that were cut to normalise relations between the UAE, Bahrain and Morocco, and to a certain extent Sudan, back in 2020. What he wants and what the US wants is for Israel to normalise relations with Saudi Arabia. That does not look like an option on the table at the moment, not least because of what is going on in the West Bank. The Saudis could offer Benjamin Netanyahu an off-ramp if they wanted to. You know, let's think about what's going on domestically, and then we may think about normalisation. The US would like that, and this part of the world would like that too. But at the moment, whether or not he's being offered an off-ramp, he's not taking it. So how important is what Benjamin Netanyahu decides to do next on what happens for Israel in this region and elsewhere?
I think the countries that have already normalized their relations with Israel, the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, have really made a strategic decision to do that.
You don't think those are at risk?
I don't think they're at risk. I think there may be some caution creeping into this pace of additional steps that are made. And certainly it may not be the atmosphere in which you would expect additional countries, perhaps the Saudis, to add their names to that list. But I do think those relationships are strategic. I'm here with the N7 initiative. It's a joint partnership, the Atlantic Council and the Jeffrey M. Talpins Foundation. We have experts from 10 Israel and 10 Arab countries meeting together. They're government and non-government experts to try to develop projects and proposals that will really bring the benefits of normalization to the citizens in agriculture and water and food security, all the stresses that are...
It's about business, isn't it? This is splitting the business file from the political file.
Business, but also those common challenges, the climate-driven challenges of water scarcity, desert agriculture. These are things they can cooperate on, even in moments of political tension. And so we're trying to facilitate those conversations, develop a network of experts who can do that together, even when there are moments of tension or caution at the political level.
Here's a thought for you, and I'm sure that you are considering this or you've been discussing this. This is a country which is massively encouraging incoming, not just investment, but talent at present. How about the opportunities that are here in the UAE for Israeli businessmen, particularly those businessmen in the tech sector, who feel that what is going on domestically is having a real impact on investor interest in Israel and Israeli companies? How about the opportunity for those Israeli businessmen to come and move to the UAE? Is that an option at this point?
Well,
do you see that?
That's been happening even before the current
Do you see an
political
acceleration?
I think it's too early to judge that. There certainly has been some concern expressed by various sectors in the Israeli business community about the judicial overhaul that's being proposed. But even before that, I met yesterday with the Israeli ambassador to the UAE, and he talked about the doubling of bilateral trade between the two countries from 2021 to 2022. The UAE is now one of Israel's largest trading partners, only 2 years after the Abraham Accords. And a lot of that is driven by Israeli companies who've decided that they can be profitable, again, separate from the political turmoil, by having at least an outpost in the UAE.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? Because it would be really interesting to see what the numbers this year look like. What happens next? What happens next? Tell me.
Well, what happens next? First, the Israeli government has to continue to work through, and I should say the Israeli people. One of the things Secretary Blinken also talked about when he visited Israel is the vibrancy of the democracy that is these issues are being debated in the Knesset, but also in the street. And the people of Israel and the government of Israel will together have to make some decisions. Hopefully that will arrive at some degree of consensus. President Isaac Herzog is trying to develop a consensus process. But I think until we sort of know the outcome of that, it's hard to say what happens next.
Dan Shapiro, do you see the right religious wing of this coalition government that, like it or not, Benjamin Netanyahu is in bed with at present? Do you see them reining back on any of their demands, and these demands being this very controversial changes to the judiciary here?
Look, it's a different kind of coalition than any one that has ruled Israel previously. Even right-wing coalitions didn't have quite this predominance of people from those communities and those worldviews.
Yes or no? Are they going to step back?
Well, I'm not making any predictions about another country's politics. It's a very tense situation. I still spend a lot of time in Israel, and you can feel that tension. You can feel people who support what the government is doing, sort of giving it that backing. But you can also, of course, see those hundreds of thousands of protesters coming out more than once a week now to really say, this is not the Israel that we are loyal to and believe in. We want to arrive at some consensus. We don't want to have one side of this political divide impose its decisions on the others. And hopefully, again, perhaps with President Herzog's leadership, that's the kind of outcome they can achieve.
It's good to have you. It's always good to have you. You and I have talked a lot over
Great to see you, Becky.
last 10 years.
Congratulations on your beautiful studio
here.
here.
Thank you. We're absolutely delighted with this new studio, and I hope the viewers are too. Great to see you. Come and see us again when you're in town.
Thanks.